Hello guys, it's your girl Asia from Orange Tango Channel. Welcome back to my channel. I want to tell you guys something. I want to talk about why I've always felt like Miles and Winston should have been a couple in Degrassi. We're going to go ahead and talk about it. I'm going to be talking about everything. I'm going to talk about why I feel like they should have been and what I feel like their relationship could have looked like and why I feel like them being together would have made them one of the greatest gay couples ever in Degrassi. So let's go. So Winston and Miles are childhood friends, and I'm also going to be talking about Winston Shu's character, why I feel like why didn't his character ever get any storylines. I'm going to be making a video about that too, by the way. But Winston and Miles are childhood friends. You know, they grew up together. I think they've been friends since they've been 5 years old. And I always felt like, and I've always said this, in any videos you guys ever heard me make, I've always mentioned that I felt like if Miles was going to be bisexual, I feel like it should have been with someone that was close to him. A friend or someone that he went to his old school with. Anyone other than Tristan, right? And it started hitting me that I feel like him and Winston should have been a couple. And I always go back to season 14, episode 4, I believe. Let me look. Season 14, episode 4, Can't Stop This Thing We Started, right? This episode, Winston was very jealous and felt very uncomfortable seeing Miles being with a guy. And, you know, this is something he had to get used to. He was just, you know, feeling like he was being replaced. And I've always took this episode as one of two things. I took it as either Winston had feelings for Miles and was feeling some type of way, or he felt like he wasn't going to be Miles' best friend anymore. But I've always took it as the number one thing, which is I always feel like Winston might have had some feelings for Miles. And let me get into that. So, I've always felt like if Miles was going to be bisexual, it should have been a better written storyline than him kissing Tristan out of nowhere and then automatically making it into a relationship. No. Why not build it? Why not make us get into the storyline? Why not make us really, really feel where Miles is coming from, right? So, how would I have done this, right? We already know Winston is with Frankie. At this point, they're already a couple. I'm going to be doing this storyline from the Thunderstruck episodes because that is when Miles kissed Tristan and, you know, felt like he was interested in guys. So, we're going to do my storyline from there. This is fantasy booking. I just feel like Winston and Miles should have been a couple. I don't know if y'all might agree, but I definitely agree. I feel like they should have been a couple. I definitely feel like they should have been a couple. So the Thunderstruck episode, Miles just got his relationship with Maya. You know, they broke up again, and instead of having the Thunderstruck episodes, they had like a whole like two-way, like a couple thing with Winston and Frankie and Miles and Tristan, you know, all of them have their sleepover. I would have just done a guys' night. I would have just done a guys' night with Miles and Winston. I would have done it where, you know, Miles just got up a relationship and he asked Winston if he want to hang out tonight. Just two of them. No one else, just them having a guys' night. They haven't hung out in a while, so why not just do it tonight? Winston said he's up for it. Frankie tells Winston she's going out with her mom for dinner. And, you know, the thunder happens, so they're just a little stuck in traffic, or they're holding them in until the water, you know, dies down. You know, Winston and Miles are at the house, you know, they're having conversations, and, you know, I did something where Winston went to use the bathroom, and Miles is a little in his feelings, and, you know, he's just thinking about him and Maya's breakup and everything with him and his dad, and, you know, I would have had Winston and Miles have a really deep verbal conversation because as friends and as guys, they feel like they shouldn't have to go there and, you know, dig deep and shit like that. But I would have made this friendship a little different. I would have had Winston, you know, ask Miles what's going on in his head. He seemed kind of far away, a little distant, a little quiet, and, you know, Miles, you know, talk about how he's taking the breakup with Maya a little pretty hard because he really hoping things would work out between them, but maybe they weren't meant to be, and how, you know, everything with his dad and their relationship, you know, not getting along, they're constantly bickering and fighting. It's kind of wearing him down, making him feel like things are never ever going to get better. And, you know, I'll have Winston, you know, Tell him things are going to get better. You're not alone. You have me. You're always going to have me. You've had me as your friend since we've been 5, and I'm not going anywhere. And I would have had Miles say, yeah, I'm glad that I have you. I'm glad I have a friend like you who's always there for me. I can lean on you. I know you're one of the few people in this world who will never, ever give up on me. And, I will have Winston say, never going to happen. And I will have them touch hands, I will have Winston scoot his hand, put it on top of Miles, and I will have them give each other this look of, could this ever be something? And I would have them moving closer, getting ready to kiss. And then I would have Frankie and her mom walk in saying that they're starting to delay. The road's a little crazy. And, it's been a little hard out there. And, I would have Winston and Miles jump up from the couch, trying to come to terms to what the hell just happened. They almost kissed. They touch hands. This form of chemistry, this something inside of them sparked up with the idea of them being together. I would have had, Frankie walk over to Winston, giving him a quick kiss, and her saying she missed him. And I would have Miles just give them this look, and I would have him, he would say he was going upstairs to bed, and Frankie's asking Winston if he wants to hang out a little later, want to hang out with her, and he would say yeah. And I would have the mother tell Winston he could stay and sleep over on the couch since the roads are looking pretty bad. From there, I would do something where, Miles wants to talk to Winston, and I would do something where Winston wants to talk to Miles, and Miles is trying not to think of what happened, how he almost kissed his friend, and how he thinks it's wrong that he should even be thinking of anything when he's with Frankie, and all types of stuff. And, I would have Winston and Miles have a conversation where they say that the feeling that they have between each other is weird, but it's a good weird. And I would have Winston say that he's always had feelings for Miles, but he's never said anything because he did not know if Miles liked the guys or if he felt the same way. And I would have Miles ask Winston, has he always been bisexual? And I would have Winston say he's just not getting to terms into his bisexuality, that he's always kept it a secret because he felt like he would not be accepted, and that he likes Frankie a lot, but he's always been in love with Miles, but he's never said anything. He always been quiet and just played the best friend role because he felt like that was the role for him. And I would have Miles tell him that he is just way more than a friend, and that if he's willing to give this a chance and a shot, he's willing to go all in. And I would have Winston say he would have no problem going all in. I would have them kiss, and I would have Frankie witness the kiss. I would have her witness it, but I would not have her say anything. Like in that moment, I wouldn't have her say Winston and Miles. I would have her be quiet. I would have her see it. Like, I would have done something where Miles and Winston are by the pool in their backyard. It's nighttime, the stars are out, and, they got their feet in the pool, and they're just talking about what almost happened. And, the kiss that was interrupted, they actually go in with the kiss this time. And I will have Frankie, walk into the kitchen, and she sees what's happening from the patio doors, and she sees it, and she walks away a little confused and very heartbroken. I will have her keep it quiet for a while, and I think the first person I will have her confront is Miles. I will have her confront Miles about the kiss and ask him when all of a sudden is he interested in guys, and most importantly, when is he all interested in Winston. And I will have Miles tell Frankie that him and Winston, it kind of just happened. It wasn't planned, and they didn't do anything to hurt her. It's just something that kind of happened in the heat of the moment. And I would have Frankie be upset, but I would not have her hold a grudge that her brother and the guy that she did like, since they've been childhood friends, all of a sudden have grown feelings for each other to where now they want to explore being a couple. And I will have, of course, Miles' family, I will have them have an issue with it, with him being bisexual and things like that. And again, we don't really know too much about Winston's family, so I don't know how they will react because they don't mention anything about Winston's family. But I feel like that's how I would have done it. I feel like if you wanted Miles to be bisexual, I feel like that's how I would have went at it. I would have went at it where y'all could get into it, y'all could feel it, we could get behind the storyline. Instead, why have him kiss Tristan randomly and then make them into a relationship where nobody can get behind and nobody cares for it. I would have made Miles and Winston, yes, I would have had them have their ups and their downs as relationships since they're both trying to come into terms, into them both liking guys and them both, liking each other and things like that. I would not have their friendship be tarnished if they were to break up or whatever. I would always let them be friends, but I feel like Miles and Winston as a relationship, it would have cooked, it would have ate. Yes, people are going to say, oh, they probably wouldn't look good because Winston is a nerd and Miles is the rich bad boy. I think because of that, opposites attract type of thing, that's why I really, really like it. I feel like Miles and Winston, they just would have made sense to me as a couple. Like, I don't know, I feel like Miles would have made Winston feel comfortable for who he is, and I feel like Winston would have done the same thing. I feel like they just would have brought the best out of each other. I don't know about y'all, but they are definitely a couple. They're on my list for couples I feel like should have been together. Like, why didn't Degrassi do a storyline with them being in a relationship? It just would have made sense. Like, I feel like Winston and Miles definitely should have been in game. There should have been a storyline with them, having feelings for each other and, something, a relationship, just something. Like, I always feel like if he wanted Miles to be bisexual, it should have been someone close to him. Someone that he either had feelings for or someone that had feelings for him. It just would have made sense. Instead, I just don't care for Tristan. I don't like Tristan's character, and I just like him and Miles as a couple is a horrible fit. I don't think Tristan was the best person for Miles, not even a little bit. And I feel like Winston could have been that person. Period. And the reason why I say that is because if it was just Winston, we wouldn't have gotten that whole fucking confusion thing in season 14 where now Miles is got feelings for Maya and all of a sudden, no. They could have left all that. And, I think I probably still would have done that where, as soon as when Miles and Winston get together and, everything with his dad at the house even gets more bad, I think I would have done something where, Miles becomes distant and doesn't tell Winston anything because now it's different when they're in a relationship because, it's different now they're in a relationship and open up to him compared to where when they were a friendship, he will open up, since it's different. And I would have done something where, they become distant and things like that to where, Miles took it as, in the heat of the moment where Maya was trying to be a friend to him, he wanted more and she didn't. I would have done something like that where, yes, that is where Winston and Miles break up, but in the next class, I would have had them made up for it. Or at the end of season 14, I would have done something where they have a conversation and they try to work things out and, they both promise that it's going to be different this time, that they don't want to screw up with each other. And that would have made them got back together in the next class. I don't know. That's how I would have done things. I feel like Winston and Miles should have been a couple. That's just how I feel. That's a hot take, unpopular opinion. I feel like they definitely should have been a couple. It just would have made more sense. I don't know if y'all fucking with it, but I'm fucking with the idea. Like, if I was in the writer's room, that would have been the first storyline I would have wrote when it came to Miles' bisexual storyline. Like, instead of making it like a sleepover, I would have just made it a guy's night. And, that's where, okay, I guess y'all gonna say, oh, it's still kind of random because we never really got to see Winston's feelings for Miles. Well, then, I would have done something where they've always shown that Winston is always had feelings for Miles, from his POV. We could just do something where Miles just never saw it, He just always took it as, he's just over-caring and being overprotective because he's a friend. We could have did something where, from Winston's POV, we know he has feelings for Miles, but he's always played the best friend role, because that's why I said that. Always played the best friend role because that is how Miles always looked at him. He never said how he felt because he didn't think Miles ever wanted more. So that is why I said what I just said, but I don't know about y'all, but I'm fucking with the idea of Miles and Winston, being in a relationship. The Degrassi should put a plug and did it. Again, they not want to take any risk. It's kind of irritating and kind of annoying. But that's all I really got to say for this video, for real, that Miles and Winston should have been a couple, and they are a couple. They are a relationship or a couple in my head that I feel like, why the fuck was they not in game? Like, why wasn't they ever a relationship? Like, why didn't Degrassi put a plug and try to make them something? That's just how I feel. Catch you guys in my next video.